Let's dive right into this explainer. What we're looking at today isn't just your standard, run-of-the-mill business case study. It's a cinematic story of hubris, a masterclass in secret education, and quite frankly, one of the most stunning corporate turnarounds imaginable. We're going to deconstruct a real-life narrative about a man who was entirely invisible to the very people he worked for and how he quietly orchestrated an absolute empire.
Imagine this for a second. For 4 whole years, nobody in this corporate building even knew Michael Carter's last name. To everyone there, from the summer interns all the way up to the C-suite, he was just the night security guard. Employees would walk right past him without a hello. Executives, they literally never looked him in the eye. When Michael's ambitions actually came up one day, a director openly mocked him, telling him to his face, "A security guard dreaming about business is like a fish dreaming about flying." And Michael's response? He didn't say a single word. He simply smiled, held the door open, and went right back to work.
Section 1. The Invisible Night Guard. So Michael was just 23 years old when he took this 7 p.m. to sunrise shift. And he didn't take it because he was super passionate about watching surveillance cameras all night, right? He took it out of pure necessity. His father had just recently passed away from cancer, and his mother was spending her days scrubbing and cleaning offices just to keep them afloat. Michael desperately needed money. So every single night, he checked the doors, he greeted the employees, and he watched those cameras. But while everyone completely ignored him, Michael was doing something nobody realized. He was listening.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how Michael essentially turned those corporate hallways into his own private university. Think about it. Executives talked openly in the elevators. Managers complained about strategy in the halls. Clients would argue over million-dollar deals in the meeting rooms. Because they didn't see him, they never filtered themselves. Without even realizing it, they were giving this guy a world-class business education. Every night after his shift, Michael would go home, flip open his laptop, and furiously write down everything he'd soaked up, building this secret curriculum for himself: finance, leadership, marketing, and negotiation. And he did the whole shebang using only library books and free online courses. For 4 years, he was a phantom student.
Which brings us to Section 2, the ignored warning.
So one morning, Michael spots a massive red flag, a critical cybersecurity vulnerability. An office computer had been left completely unlocked, meaning literally anyone could walk by and swipe highly confidential data. He did his job, followed protocol, and reported it immediately to the IT manager. The response he got was just brutal. "Just stick to opening doors." The IT manager actually laughed in his face. The warning was entirely ignored, and honestly, that would prove to be a fatal mistake.
And this perfectly illustrates the timeline of their downfall. The cost of that arrogance? Absolutely staggering. In month 1, the flaw is reported by Michael and completely dismissed. Exactly 3 months later, the inevitable happens. A massive, sweeping hacker attack strikes the company. By month 5, the fallout is catastrophic. We're talking millions of dollars lost, terrified clients fleeing left and right, and the stock price absolutely cratering. And how did the company respond publicly? They blamed unexpected circumstances. But Michael knew the truth. He stayed silent, he didn't complain, he just kept learning.
All right, moving into Section 3, Building the Empire.
Enter David Reynolds. Now, David was a former executive who pulled a lot of late nights at the office. And unlike literally every other person in that building, David actually noticed Michael. He saw the security guard reading these heavy, dense business books late into the night. And instead of ignoring him, David stopped and asked a simple question. "What are you studying?" When Michael said business, David just smiled and said, "Good." That single validating conversation changed the entire trajectory of Michael's life. David became his mentor. He pulled back the curtain and taught him how leaders actually make hard decisions and, crucially, how to build businesses from the ground up.
18. That is the number of hours Michael ground out every single day to get his dream off the ground. Over the next 5 years, he launched his very own cybersecurity consulting firm. His first office, his tiny, cramped apartment. His first employee, himself. He hustled relentlessly, sometimes sleeping only 4 hours a night. But that insane work ethic paid off. Slowly but surely, he scaled. Small businesses became clients, then hospitals, then banks. Eventually, Fortune 500 companies were relying on him. Almost overnight, his company quietly became one of the fastest-growing cybersecurity firms in all of America.
Section 4, The Stunning Return. This is where the two timelines finally collide.
Fast forward 5 years, and we're looking at a literal tale of 2 companies.
On Side A, the original corporation where Michael used to work is completely collapsing, plagued by even more cyber attacks, hemorrhaging money, and suffering from toxic leadership. The board has only one lifeline left: sell the company to the highest bidder. Now on Side B, we have Carter Security Group, a titan that's scaling rapidly across the entire country. Several massive firms submitted offers to buy out the collapsing corporation, but one offer stood head and shoulders above the rest. Carter Security Group won the bid. The incredible twist here: nobody at the original corporation had any clue who actually owned Carter Security Group.
Okay, set the scene in your mind. It's Monday morning, employees are nervously packed into the auditorium. Executives are whispering to each other, sweating about whether they still have jobs. The chairman steps up to the microphone, taps it, smiles, and announces, "Our new CEO has arrived." The auditorium doors swing open. A tall man in a sharply tailored navy suit walks inside. He's confident, he's calm, he's completely silent. As he walks down the center aisle, someone in the crowd whispers, "Wait, that's the security guard." The entire room freezes. Michael steps up onto the stage and just looks around slowly. Every single face is familiar. The receptionist who never greeted him, the IT manager who mocked him, the director who laughed at his dreams, and they all look away in utter, complete shock.
Section 5. Respect over revenge.
How Michael handled this exact moment of absolute power. It's honestly legendary. He looked out at this totally terrified room, smiled and said, "I recognize many of you." The silence in that room was deafening. Then he continued, "I know some people expect revenge, but revenge doesn't build great companies. Respect does." With pure grace, he instantly disarmed all the fear in that room. He didn't fire them. He established a completely new, empowering corporate culture on day one.
So let's break down the exact mechanics of this turnaround strategy, because it's brilliant. First, he made a decision that shocked everyone: universal leadership training for every single employee, from the newest intern to the oldest executive. Second, he mandated that every single idea would be heard and every suggestion reviewed, essentially flattening the hierarchy of innovation. And third, promotions would now be based strictly on performance, not on titles or how long you'd warmed a chair. The results? Within months, innovation just exploded. Employee satisfaction doubled, lost clients actually started coming back, and profits pushed to record highs.
Right in the middle of this massive upswing, there was this incredibly profound moment. One afternoon, the exact same director who had once laughed at Michael's dreams walked into his new CEO office. Looking deeply embarrassed, the director swallowed his pride and said, "I owe you an apology. I judged you because of your uniform." Michael smiled, this leveling, totally calm response, and said, "We all wear uniforms." He pointed toward the office window, looking at his own reflection in that tailored navy suit, and just added, "Mine just changed."
And that leads us to our final chapter. Section 6, the ultimate lesson.
A few years down the line, Michael is giving this university graduation speech. Thousands of students are on the edge of their seats listening to his story. During the Q&A, one student stands up and asks a question that I actually want to frame directly to you right now. How did you get revenge on everyone who underestimated you? Take a second and really let the weight of that sink in. It's the most natural human response, right? We all want to stick it to our doubters and prove them wrong. But Michael just smiled, and he delivered this quiet, literally show-stopping answer. "I didn't waste my life proving them wrong. I spent it proving myself right." The entire audience of thousands just erupted. They stood and applauded, because they instantly understood the immense depth of that mindset shift. Energy spent on revenge is just energy wasted. But energy spent on your own growth, that's what builds empires.
Which brings us to the core takeaway of this explainer. The people who underestimate you absolutely do not decide your future. Your daily choices do. Just like that invisible night guard in Seattle, quietly reading business books at 3 a.m. while everyone else was sleeping, your daily choices are quietly shaping the leader you're going to become. Whether people see you right now or not, the work you put in when it's dark will eventually speak for itself in the light. So I'll leave you with this. What daily choices are you making today that will define your tomorrow?